So what if I told you that I'm actually lighting up the scene using 2 disc lamps? No studio lights, nothing, just 2 disc lamps that I bought at Mr. Price Home for I don't know how much, very inexpensive. I have one here and I have one there. My main room light is off. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can achieve this very look for your YouTube channel or like a budget interview, just using disc lamps. My name is Z, and if you're here for the first time, I love making videos and doing tutorials and tips on how I make my videos, from the gear that I use to the software that I use. And I also like to share just, small tips on how you can make your video making slightly better from just using what you have, like, this video, of course. So if that's your kind of thing, please do consider subscribing. And if you have been here before, hey, welcome back. Okay, now we're gonna introduce stage by stage the different elements that I'm using to actually light this up. Apart from the 2 disc lamps that I mentioned, you also need 2 extra things. One is something that can diffuse light, so it could be anything. I've used things like shower curtains or even shower caps. Those white foggy ones. It could be anything that can just diffuse light. The second thing that you need is a mirror. Something about 60 centimeters in diameter, not too big, not too small. We're gonna use that to create our third light source. So now that that's out of the way, the first thing that we want to do is kill the main light, the main room light, and then introduce our first disc lamp, which is gonna be now our main light, which is the one that's facing me. So yeah, let me do that. So as you can see, it's really bright. It's really bright in my face, and it's really harsh. And I'm actually just gonna show you. I'm gonna record this with my phone. That's the disc lamp. Should have actually taken a picture of how it looks. So that's the disc lamp. You guys are over there. Hey guys, I'm going to use this, which is my diffuser. It's rather too big, so you can use anything smaller than this. So this is how it looks when you don't have a diffuser. And then after you diffuse the light on my face is a bit softer and spread out a bit more evenly, and it's not too sharp. Just a point to note with the main disc lamp, you wanna elevate it in a position where it's slightly above you and it's sort of like facing down on you, just slightly off to the left or to the right. You can decide whichever side. The second thing that we want to do is introduce the backlight, which is another disc lamp. As you can see, just gonna switch that on. So I put mine on top of this disc just so that you can see it, but you can put it on the floor and just like face it up and then light your back. So what it's doing is it's separating me from the back, as you can see, and just making it look a bit cooler-ish. So before we introduce the mirror, which is actually going to give us our third light in quotes, there are settings on your camera that you can use or that you can manipulate to affect light. So in today's video, we're gonna look at 2. The first one is aperture. Aperture is pretty much how wide your lens can open and let in light into your sensor. And it also affects depth of field, which pretty much means it can make your background more blurry. So the more your aperture opens, the more depth of field you get. So right now my aperture is at 5.6, which is not really great for low light situations. And you want to have it as wide as possible. And aperture works in a way that the lower the number, the wider it opens. So my current lens actually opens as wide as 1.4, but I'm going to lower it down to about 1.8. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a bit more blurriness in the background, which is the depth of field. And then it's also going to bring more light into this particular image that you're seeing. And then the second setting that we can manipulate is ISO. And ISO is pretty much a camera setting for brightness. In simple terms, that's what it is. So a rule of thumb, you want to keep your ISO as low as possible, because the higher it goes, the more it affects your image. It starts to introduce things like graininess, and just your image doesn't look as sharp as possible. So right now you see that when I open up my aperture, the image is going to get brighter, and that will allow me to also lower the ISO down so that we can balance those two out. So I'm gonna try record this with my phone so that you also see that's my aperture at 5.6, and then my ISO is over there at 8000, which is too high actually. So when I lower down my aperture to about 1.8, you realize that this image is actually getting brighter. So I'm gonna leave it at 1.8. So you can see right now I'm actually blown out, but we're gonna compensate for that and like lower the ISO down as much as we can. As you can see, sorry, I'm trying to operate this with both hands, but I think, yeah, 640 thereabouts works. So as you can see now, it's definitely different. The background is a bit more blurry and my face is a bit more sharp, and it's less grainy-ish if you're actually looking at this at the highest quality possible. And this is what, how you can play around with the settings on your camera to give your image a bit more pizzazz. You know what I mean? Like just like a, So always remember, open up your aperture as wide as possible and keep your ISO as low as possible. Moving on to the next thing. If you look at this side of my face, it's a bit dark, it's not too dark, but that's because the main light, which is the first desk lamp, is shining from my left side, which means it's casting a shadow on this side. So we'll need a field light, but because we only have 2 desk lamps, I'm going to use a mirror, which is something again you can find in your home, just like the desk lamps. So I've got this, I think it's about 60 centimeters in diameter, I don't know. But what you can do with this, as you can see, I'm just going to look at the monitor just so that I can make sure that this is what you're seeing. But this is off, this is on, off, on. So you can set this off frame just to, so that it's not in your shot, unless if that's, what you are desiring. But you can set it off frame so that, it can then bounce this light off there and then fill the side. So if you see how that's affecting this side of my face, you can see the shadows of my fingers there. It's because there's a light that's now bouncing off from this side. Sorry, I was looking at the monitor there just to make sure that you can that I'm actually saying something that you can see. But that's pretty much it. This is good if you don't want to go break your bank account, especially if you're just starting YouTube and you don't really have the money to buy, expensive gear, because studio lights are expensive. They're expensive. Even the what you call them, the ring lights are so expensive as well. And not everyone is just walking around with money just ready to buy studio lights and stuff like that. So you can pretty much achieve these results with stuff that you find at home. Let me know if this video helped you out. If it was great, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and turn on the notification thing and subscribe. I don't know if I say that already, but thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.